Hey, welcome back. Hope you're all well. Thanks for joining the channel again, and good to see you. Today on my bench, I have a little request from a friend. A friend dropped this off the other day. He says, Trevor, could you please have a look at it? He says it draws heavy current. Now, that's an old GM. Looks like a GM. Yeah, it's got the GM branding there in the window. I don't know if you can see that. But I've never seen one of these before. This is kind of cool. It's an AM/FM radio. And right now I'm in FM, but when I switch, when I switch the band, it changes to changes the scale. And I asked him, is it a cassette? And he says he doesn't think so. I don't think it is either. I think it's just an AM/FM radio, made by Delco Electronics. Let's see here. Yeah, it's a Delco Electronics GMC Kokomo. Is that Kokomo? Yeah, Kokomo, Indiana. Sorry, butchering you guys' state name and town name. Sorry about that. So yeah, he says it draws heavy current, and let's just try and hook it up and see what it does. Controls. You got power switch, volume, and then here it says balance adjust. So I'm assuming that's our balance. I'm not sure. And it's got a center detent there that locks in. This side is obviously your tuning, and this one is unnamed. I think it might be a fader control, I'm guessing. And then hidden in behind the knobs is your antenna trimmer for tweaking your antenna. Most people don't know about that. So we flip it over. Big chunky heatsink on the bottom, punched out to give it lots of air. And it's got a couple of ECG 121, ECG 121. So maybe somebody replaced these two transistors, I'm not sure. And then it's got the connectors. So let's look at what we got here. We got 12 volts, which would be this yellow wire, lamp, which is got no wire at the moment, and then ground, which is this gray wire. So that's our power input. And then these up here is our speakers. Let's see here. Take this out of the way. It's got on the top two, and this one is ground, and then it's got a ground here. Bottom two on this left side is left front, right front, left front, right front. And then it's got right rear, left rear. So the two front speakers, two rear speakers, and then it's got three ground wires. I'm assuming that's the way it goes. And this wasn't wired in right either. The ground wires should be your blacks, and your speaker wires should be your green wires. I think somebody swapped maybe connectors around. I don't know. But let's hook it up and see what it does. I've got a pair of speakers, my rate channel. Right channel, and left channel. Okay, and is it shut off? Now it's shut off. Let's connect up the positive and a negative. Okay, so I have it on my bench supply, supplying 13.9 volts right now, and I'm going to turn it on. Yeah, it's drawing 5 amps. It's dropping. 4.7 amps. We're getting noise on one speaker. I don't want to leave that running too long. I don't know what's cooking in there. That's a lot of current. 5 amps for a little radio like this at 12 volts, 13 volts. What's the power dissipation on that? So it was drawing 70 watts almost, just to make that little bit of hiss come out of the speakers. It's almost kind of like I hear an oscillation when I first turn it on. So we're getting static out of one speaker. Let's see which. Is it the right speaker I'm hearing? Let's disconnect the right speaker. And now I hear nothing, except I still hear that squeal. Let's connect the right speaker back up. And disconnect the left speaker. I want to see what I hear. Yeah, I still hear the squeal in both channels. That's kind of odd. Let's pull the cover off, have a look inside. Sounds like we got one dead channel. Good old American 1/4 inch. Those ECG transistors are suspicious. I don't think those are original to what Delco used. That one is all buggered. So it's probably seen a trip to the repair shop sometime in its history. Wow, is this one ever tight? Why is that so tight? There we go. These aren't the ideal connectors. I think of better fasteners to use than these hex head things. Alright, the big reveal. Wow. Looks like we have a fuse here somewhere. L fuse. It's a big can capacitor. These things are really built to be robust. This is all tuning here. Pretty sure this is probably the local oscillator. I don't know. AM, RF, yeah. And maybe this side here is FM. Yeah, it says right there FM. Oscillator. Okay. Well, we're going to get a look at the power amplifier. So let's take the bottom cover off. Looks like this bottom plate comes off as one piece. So taking the bottom off doesn't really help me get into this any deeper. It just reveals the, I think this is the FM board. Pretty sure, because there is an IC here on the other side. And I think this is the stereo demodulator. It's really interesting design. It's actually, for its age, I'm looking at the age, like how old is this thing? I'm guessing it has to be late 60s. It's got silicon transistors in it, but it looks like very, very early silicon. What are these things here? I don't know if you can see this. They look like tantalums, but they're actually, I think they're ceramic. They're probably tubular ceramics. So this is the IF here. And they got cracks in them. You can see cracks. Interesting. Okay, so I think everything we need to do is right here on this top board. This is the power amplifier here, because I can see the wires from the transistors are coming up and coming through here. This green and blue, this green and blue. Pretty sure those are the wires that are yellow, green, and blue. Okay, so I can test those output transistors, see if one of them is kaput. So I just might do it from here, I think. It might be easier just doing it from here. Okay. Is this one? It's open. It's open. $117. $115. These might be germanium. I hope they're not. $116. $117. Another thing I noticed is there was a missing screw here, right here, and a missing screw here. So somebody's definitely been in here before. I'm wondering maybe if the ground is missing, if that would have any effect. But this one here is grounded here. This one here is grounded here, so it shouldn't. Some power supply stuff going on here too. There's some big caps, and there's a choke here, a smoothing choke, some diodes. I should take the side cover off. Might as well just open it right up. Yep, it's germanium PNP transistor, audio frequency power amp, 60 volt emitter base, collector current 10 amp. Yeah, transistors, they're pretty good for germanium. So if I can figure out which channel is the left channel here, according to the wiring, I could probably remove the transistor and see if our heavy load goes away or not. Let's see what's going on. We have 5 amps, 70 watts. Where's that all that power going? I didn't leave it on long enough to figure out if this is getting warm or not, but maybe we got a bad cap inside too that's ready to pop. Let's remove both of these transistors and see if our drain goes away. Just gonna let that hang there. Okay. Okay, let's see what we got for a drain now. Turning it on. And we got about 450 milliamps. That sounds more like a reasonable number. So what I can do now is reinstall one transistor at a time and test it to see if it works or not, or if it's loading down. I don't know if these are bad though. I think they're okay. Alright, so what I've done is I replaced both of these germanium PNP transistors with silicon PNP transistors. And I just want to give it a test now. I've got the speakers connected and power is connected, so let's turn this on and we'll see how much current we draw. My voltage is set at 13.9 volts, which is pretty typical of a car system. So turn this on and it jumps to about 2.25 volt or amps. And I do have I got both speakers working, both channels, and the current drops down to about 2.1 amps. It's getting slightly warm. 2 amps, well, it's just over 2 amps, and I think that's a little more reasonable for this radio. I'm thinking they have this run at Class A mode here, because there's only one transistor for each channel, and I can turn it to minimum volume. It's drawing 2.13 amps. If I turn it full volume, the current doesn't change. It's like it's a Class A amplifier. I'm not sure though. I don't have any documentation on this thing. So as far as I can tell, it's working. Let's get a little bit of an antenna happening here if I can connect the wire. You get a lot of noise from the bench.
And that was one of the ones that just...
Picking up a lot of DX. It's very sensitive. But it's not picking up the local station. Where is it?
Very fortunate enough to have.
Okay, let's give FM a try. FM stereo lights coming on. I'm getting stereo separation. Seems to be working fine now. It's got a lot of volume, and as I jack it up, the current doesn't change, so it must be Class A.
.95.7 FM.
FM's working pretty good. I think AM needs a tune-up though.
World Cup. What's it gonna be? Some of the best talent in Canada. I mean, Alphonso Davies coming back home.
1049 virginradio.ca.
Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to do a little bit of a cleaning up here. This thing sounds pretty rough. It doesn't get overly hot. It's probably about 50 degrees C. But I think that's acceptable. So maybe I'll leave this on for a while and make sure it doesn't overheat. I also noticed a lot of these old resistors have drifted in value. Quite a few of these are not, they're 10% tolerance, but they are way out. I checked a couple of them. And then I got cracked solders on the boards too. I've been looking around and I see a lot of cracked solders here and there. So I'm going to have to go through and give this thing a once over. Okay, let's have a good look at this radio, this receiver. I opened it up quite a bit so I could get at some of the components. I removed the volume and tone pot because I'm going to clean those. Here's something that Delco did, is they put tape over the opening so that dust couldn't get in. That's a good thing. But I still need to get in there to spray out the with some cleaner and put some deoxit in there. But I just want to give you a look at what's going on here. I was looking at the circuit and I kind of reverse engineered what's going on here. This is what we have for on each channel. Each channel has a Delco DM28 chip, which is this white thing here. These are like a hybrid kind of sealed. It's got silicone on the back. You can feel it's like silicone rubber. And it's got, I don't know how many connections on it, 10 or so. And 10 pins. And it's kind of like a hybrid circuit in here. And there's some external support components. So this thing feeds straight into the base of this PNP transistor. And yes, this is supposed to be a germanium, but we'll get to that later. So this feeds directly in. There's no biasing adjustment. There's no other anything in between. It's just a straight shot from one pin to the base, and then it goes into the transistor. The collector of the transistor is tied to ground through this choke. There's a tube, and this choke has a 2.2 ohms or 1.6, I can't remember. And if you look here on the board, or on the receiver, you can see there's two chokes here, one here, one here. This is one for one channel, one for the other channel. So these are the output chokes. And then there's a 4 microfarad capacitor hanging off the output to the speaker. And where are those capacitors? They're underneath here. I don't need to show them to you. On the other side of the transistor, we have our emitter. And this is fed from plus 12 volts. This is the car battery here. And it goes through a choke. This is a filtering choke. And I think there's a capacitor across this too. And I think there's actually a capacitor to ground. But that is back here where the power comes in, and then it goes to this box here. This is that choke with the two red lines coming out of it. That's the one I'm just pointing to now. And then it comes and it feeds, goes to the power switch. And you can see it goes to the power switch, and then it goes to the emitter. This brown wire goes back to the emitter of the transistors. And yeah, this is a pure Class A amplifier. Been doing some reading on some forums, antique radio forums, and there's some threads about these General Electric or General Motors radios, and people are saying, yeah, about 1 amp is about normal conduction for this transistor. It's turned into Class A, so it's going to be turned on and sinking about 1 amp of current. In my case, I think I'm sinking of probably about 800 milliamps for each transistor since I replaced it with a silicon. So I did replace this PNP germanium with a silicon, and it seems to be working fine. And it seems to be conducting less than it should because it's probably biased a little better for the silicon than it is for germanium. So yeah, I'm confident this is all working now, and we're getting both channels, and we're getting good fidelity. I'm just going to leave this alone. It seems that when I turn this on, I was syncing about 2.1 amps total for the whole radio. So less than 1 amp for each transistor, and then some few hundred milliamps for the rest of the circuits. Did find this capacitor was half open. It was it was a 250. Let's see here. It was a 250 microfarad at 3 volt capacitor, and I replaced it with a 220, and I replaced the other one, its neighbor, its complement, just so that they're both relatively the same age. Now, one thing I'm noticing on this is a lot of resistors are out of tolerance. Let's have a look. I can do this on camera. I can show you a few of them here. This one here is 10 ohms at 10%. It comes back at over 11, almost 12 ohms, so that one's out of spec. This one's 100 ohms, 10%. And this one comes back at 109.5, which is barely within spec. Here's a 470 ohm, 10%. This one's way out. 470 to 65, so that's about 95 ohms out. That's way out of 10% tolerance. There's two 5.6Ks here. Here's one of them, and these are gold bands, so they're 5% tolerance. And it's coming back at 6.2K, should be 5.6. Here's the next one. Comes back at 6.2K, should be 5.6. That one's way out. Here is a 1.2K. That one's not bad, but then I might have to lift it out of circuit to get an accurate reading. Here is another 1.2K. Come on, in contact. Here we go. And that one also shows not bad. What we got one here is a 2.7K. And this comes back at over 3K. So that one I believe is out of tolerance too. That's a 10%. So I got some bad resistors here. They're way out of spec. Maybe that's the reason why transistors are overheating. I don't know. But I'm going to correct these transistors on this audio board. I could go through the whole radio and do it, but I don't think I would benefit anything. The AM/FM tuners are working, so I think I'm just going to leave those alone and focus on this audio board, get these resistors straightened out. I already straightened out these two caps. These ones tested fine. I still don't know what this potentiometer here does. It's some kind of adjustment. But I think it's associated with this DM24 chip, which I think this is the demultiplex, the FM stereo. I am picking up FM stereo. Everything's good that way. This board here, I think, is AM tuner. There's no electrolytics on here. Let's check a few resistors on this one. This one's 18K, 10%. And we're getting 3.9. Here's a 4.7K, 10%. It's reading low, it's being loaded. Here's a 6800 or 680 ohm. And that one's way out of spec. Looks like here's a 12K resistor. Can't. Here's a 390 ohm. That one's way out. Here's a, what is this? Red, purple, gold. So is that a 2.7 or 0.27? I think it's 2.7. Let's see here. It's coming back at 3.1. $5.6K. That one's not bad. Here's a 150K. And we got 170. That one's way out. So yeah, there is some bad resistors on this whole radio. But it's working. I think I'm gonna go through and do the resistors on this one. I have to treat and clean this pot, and then I can reassemble that and then I can maybe I'll change a few of these really bad resistors on this board too. Not that it needed it. I think the AM was working okay. Other than that, that's pretty much it for servicing this thing. Alright, so I got it wired in. Let's do a final test. Both channels. We don't have an antenna. Let's fix that. Okay, just got the old screwdriver stuck in there trick. Let's try this again. This is the fader. Tone.
And AMJ Campbell, you can help us deliver joy and make your cash donation now at thebearrocks.com. Joy Mountain.
It's got some good volume.
Appliances. Art and Jenny here.
Negotiations were underway at COP26 in Glasgow to address climate change with concrete actions for the reduce gas emissions by 40 to 45%. Oil and gas emissions to achieve net zero.
What is it picking up?
Setting up. We have to do more and faster, and that is globally, not just Canada.
That AM sounds terrible. Maybe there's something still wrong with it. Let's see what we can do for that AM. The FM sounds good. Yeah, just as I thought. Look at this. The tip is broken off and it's stuck in the receptacle here. You can pull this out. You can shove it through maybe. If it'll cooperate. Shove it back. It's wedged in there pretty good. There we go. Now, can I get that out? I don't know if I can. I might have to push it right through. I'll try with this one. Now, it's not going to go. It's part pushing it back. There. Look at that. It's the tip from the cable. It was stuck in there. Unbelievable. Just going through and tweaking the IF on this. It seems seems okay. I have it locked on the station. One of these here is an antenna trimmer. And the other one is the center frequency adjust. It's right there, and then the antenna trimmer. Doesn't seem to do a whole hell of a lot, but that's to be adjusted once it's installed back in the vehicle. Turn off the signal generator. Still getting swamped with noise. As far as I can tell, everything's working. It's just really sensitive, or it's picking up something. So I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave this alone. I'm not going to fiddle with it anymore. With no antenna, and still picks up stations, but we have no shielding on. Once I put the shielding back on, it'll smarten up. Okay, so I think that's it. That's I'm going to call it done. It draws 2 amps from the power supply when it's switched on. This gets fairly warm, but I don't think it's outside of the realm of normal, considering we got 2 Class A amplifiers. I did measure across. Hang on, shut this off. My signal generator makes so much noise. I did check the current across this 0.47 resistor, and I had 900 milliamps. Now I believe that is for the transistor. I don't know, there's only one. There only appears to be one fuse, so I'm not sure how they're doing that. Maybe there's 2 fuses. I just can't find the other one. But I'm going to wrap this up, put it back together, and give it back to the owner. Don't know what more else I can do for it. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. Alright, thanks for watching. I know it wasn't much of a video, but we did get it back working again, I guess. I hope.